And we're here to help you make one of the most difficult decisions that anyone has to make financially. Do I buy a car or don't I buy a car? Do I buy a used car or a new car? And if I do, how do I get the lowest price? How do I avoid being taken advantage of by car dealers? At the bottom of the Gallup annual poll on honesty and ethics in the profession. So that's our task. That's what we do here. It's what we've been doing for nearly 20 years. And you make the show. I mean, pure and simple, your calls. If you haven't listened to the show before, listen, please. I mean, just listen for a little bit. If you don't want to listen to us, you can listen to the callers. The callers are interesting. The texters, the callers. We hear and learn things, and we're experts. Rick Kearney is with us in the studio. This guy knows more about cars than anybody I know. He's been doing it for over a quarter of a century. He's on top of it, too, because the current car is just absolutely a scientific marvel. I mean, they're almost too good. They're too complicated because it's hard for the user, the drivers, to really understand everything on them. Rick Kearney understands it all, and he'll tell you right now that there's some challenges out there. You buy a car, new, used, you're going to have some questions. They're complicated, high-tech. Rick is a high-tech guy, and that's why we like you to call the show. We can tell you about buying and selling. Rick can tell you about fixing and repairing, maintaining. And so we got a pretty good group here. We have a call-in number. We prioritize that. So if you call 877-960-9960, you might want to write that down just in case, if you can, if you're not driving or something. But the number again is 877-960-9960. Nancy Stewart, my co-host, co-founder of the show, by the way, female advocate, strong supporter of you ladies out there in the audience. She will monitor her laptop or her text, and she will be notified of your call. And our calls get number one priority over text, over anonymous feedbacks, over YouTube, over Facebook, because we have all those other avenues. And but if you call us on the phone, we're going to get you. We're going to stop what we're doing and talk to you. So 877-960-9960. And for a lot of folks out there, you don't want to be live on radio. I don't blame you. I mean, I know I'm a little strange. We're all a little strange in the studio because we love what we're doing. But most people are a little bit nervous about speaking to thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people all over the world. You just, a little stage fright. Don't blame you. Text us. Text us at 772-497-6530. 772-497-6530. Question, comments, criticism. Some people are nervous, shy, too polite to be critical. We got something for you too. It's called YourAnonymousFeedback.com. Unique. I don't know any talk-in show, call-in show, anybody that's got this. We have a website that is bulletproof, privacy-wise. You contact us via YourAnonymousFeedback.com. We don't know who you are, where you are. All we know is what you say.
Yeah, it's not our website.
No.
Yeah, we pay for this.
We pay for it. Yeah, it's actually from was it
Incognito.
Incognito, neat spelled N-E-A-T. Incog N-E-A-T-O .com, or is it dot something else?
Yeah.
Incognito. If you want to have your own anonymous website, you can go to Incognito with Nito spelled Neato.com, and you can buy it. And we bought it. A lot of blue chip companies like Adobe and some other big companies have that. I think if the companies that do have it, we have it at our company, and we have it for the radio show. We have it personally. We just happen to believe that we'd like to know what people think about us. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, if it hurts our feelings sometimes. We get embarrassed sometimes. We get angry sometimes. But hey, that's life. Would you rather be a little bit embarrassed and angry and maybe have your feelings hurt every now and then, or live in a world of make-believe? We don't want to live in a world of make-believe. If you like us, We want to know it if you hate us. We want to know it if you have constructive criticism. We'd love to know that. And that your anonymous feedback.com if you don't want to be identified. And I don't blame you. Again, if you're listening to the show for the first time, a highlight of the show clearly is something called our mystery shopping report. Nobody's got this. Nobody sends an undercover agent secretly into a business every week. The businesses we use are car dealerships. We go to used car dealerships. We go to new car dealerships. We even check occasionally, not often enough, but we do service mystery shops too. See what treatment our people get when they come in, and they go all the way through the process. I mean, price negotiation, looking for models, asking a lot of questions, and taking frantic mental notes. We're not allowed to video or record this, and so our current secret shopper is Agent Lightning. We don't identify them for obvious reasons. And she's all over the country. I mean, she travels out of state, certainly out of South Florida, and she visits car dealerships. So we keep her identity secret, and she hasn't been busted yet. I don't think, Stu. Has she ever been?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think she has had moments where she thought the jig was up and went outside, texted me in a panic, but we persevered, pushed through. And
in years past, before Agent Lightning, we have been busted. We've had I won't say had the mystery shopper run out, but
we can say
move out quickly.
He's deceased now.
Yeah.
That's
right.
It was Scott Cadmus.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He can't get in trouble now.
Yeah, that was
I think we had to call.
scary.
I think we had to
So
call him
anyway,
back
if
up.
you do nothing else, stay tuned for the last half of the show, actually the last quarter. We're on from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the last half hour between 9:30 and 10, we usually air that shopping report. If you want to call us anytime. We turn the phones off close to the time of the mystery shopping report, so call us before that. And that's the best. The best are the calls, the real live calls. 877-960-9960. Now, I'm going to let Nancy Stewart, my co-host, my wife, co-founder of the show, strong female advocate, tell you new listeners, especially you female new listeners, we have a little surprise, a little nice gift for you. That if you're calling the show for the first time, Nancy will tell you about that, and she would really love to hear from as many ladies out there. We know you're listening. We just want to hear your views. They're very important to us. Nancy?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'll get to that topic about the female caller in just a moment, but let's start the show off with a question to our audience. And you can give us a call at 877-960-9960, and you can also text us at youranonymousfeedback.com. Excuse me. But my question this morning is asking you if you were trading your car, do you feel ethically obligated to, or if you were selling your car, do you feel ethically obligated to let that person know that the car's been in an accident, that there's mold? I think you get the point with those two examples. Give us a call with your answer at 877-960-9960.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, we get mad at dealers when they don't reveal issues, problems with cars that you buy. So if you're selling a car to the dealer, trading it in, should you bear the same burden? How do you feel about it?
I have a long-established opinion on that.
You do?
Of course, people have an ethical obligation to disclose things. I think, just in general, hiding things and lying about things are wrong, and dealers shouldn't do it, and average folks shouldn't do it either, in my opinion.
How about the long-standing tenet of law, starting with English law?
Caveat emptor.
Yeah.
I understand, but I think
That's a defense in court, you know.
Oh, sure. But I think that just general morality
We're
demands
talking
otherwise.
ethics. We're not talking legality.
Yeah.
We're talking ethics.
Yeah,
That's a great question.
Talking
Great
ethics, let's take it to another level. What do you think about CarMax, Carvana, We Buy Any Car? Do you think they too have the ethical obligation to disclose honesty. Honesty about that vehicle, the history of it. Give us a call at 877-960-9960. And, not to
Yeah,
cover you up with a lot of questions, but this is food for thought if
Yeah.
you'd like to give the show a call. Let me ask you this second question. How do you feel about car dealerships that are adding extra fees to those buying out their leases? We talk about ethics.
I got an opinion on that too.
We talk about ethics every week. Let's talk about the higher ups. We're trying to elevate the opinion of these dealerships. We all need to work together. Stu, your
Yes.
opinion?
My opinion.
Nah, don't give us your opinion. We don't. No, seriously.
I've already given my opinion.
Yeah, we don't. We like the callers to feel free to say their opinion.
Okay.
First of all, the businesses, we already in law are required to tell you if there's something bad about the product they're selling. You can get fined or go to jail. There's rules for that. There's no rules, as far as I know, for the seller if you're a private individual. That's the reason it's such an interesting question. So,
Yeah. Well, what about CarMax? What about Carvana?
Yeah.
Is it
is
it a law?
Yeah, there is a law. Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay, now to get to another important issue, that's the ladies. Ladies, give us a call this morning. Tell us what you think. Answer maybe some of my questions, or just say hello at 877-960-9960. And for the first two new lady callers, you can win yourself $50 this morning. So sit back, enjoy the show, and we appreciate your participation, and we look forward to all your phone calls, YouTube, text messages. It's going to be an exciting mystery shopping report also. We are going to go to the phones where Mark is waiting from Palm Beach Gardens. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Nancy, Earl, and Stewie,
Hey,
and the mechanic buddy there.
Rick.
Nancy, you've provoked my interest on your questions. When it comes to a public person, going ahead and being truthful with a potential buyer of their vehicle, I think the ugly truth is a lot of people will think, what can I get away with? I want to, especially in this economic climate, people want to get the most for what they're selling. And I think that people would have a tendency not to tell the truth.
I think
But
you're right.
The kicker is,
Well, Mark, we
I
know
think the
that, but
kicker is
do you
that
think it's
people-
ethical that they do that?
Let me finish. Let me finish, please, Earl. The question is, can people sleep at night if they haven't told the truth? And I wouldn't consider the average person worrying about even if there was a law on the books about a private seller declaring damage or so forth. I myself would declare it. I would probably go, by the way, there's scratches up front. There's a ding over here. I didn't always change the oil, all the exact mileage. But honestly, I think the average person would first think about being deceitful.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry, Earl. What were you going to say?
No, I just said I thought you said what I said a different way. I said it isn't a question. I said it's a question of ethics. How do you feel it is ethically? And then you said, would you be able to sleep at night? So you're saying if you can't sleep at night, then that's unethical. You violate your own ethical code. So your conscience or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's right. I'm glad to hear your opinion, and I don't really have one. I think, and there's two lines of this, by the way. There's a sin of omission when you just don't mention the fact that your car was in an accident, and then there's a direct sin when the buyer says, "Has this car ever been in an accident?" and you say no. Now that's a higher level of sin than just not mentioning it. So I personally feel that as long as you're not overtly misrepresenting your car, the professional that you're trading it into or selling it to bears the responsibility to check it out. But even that, there's people that feel two ways about that. Everybody's a little bit different when it comes to ethics and morality and sleeping at night.
There's scenarios. I see some customers assume that the dealer, the appraiser, will find out in a history report. Don't have to mention it. They're going to discover it. They don't have to mention it. They're not necessarily like lying by omission. They just assume it's going to come out.
So what if they don't?
Right.
What if they don't discover it?
That's even a tougher one there. Yeah. Oh, seriously, because you can wonder, like, well, what's the standard of this business? Do they not care about accidents?
Well, let's hear some other opinions. Mark, thank you very much.
Mark, do you have anything else for us?
Well, I was just going to say, what if somebody had their car scratched down the side, both sides of the car, had to be painted? They wouldn't consider that an accident, but yet that definitely affects the value of the car.
Sure.
But if they're in a front-end collision where the airbags go off, they're going to probably say something about that. But, when you have somebody that's had, scratches like that, the average person isn't going to consider that collision damage, and they're apt not to report that. And that probably affects the value of the car as much as an accident.
Sure.
Thanks for taking my call. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Mark. You too.
It's always great hearing from you, Mark.
Some people, might feel like they're finally sticking it to the dealer. I mean, some people might feel justified, and ethically they are making things even. Karma is being achieved when they.
That's what we're going to find out. We're going to get some more calls and find out how our listening audience feels.
Absolutely. And I'm going to reiterate the $50 for the first two new lady callers. And I just would love to know your interaction with whether you leased a car, whether you bought a car, if you did it from the internet or you just walked into the dealership, unfortunately, and found that, there were no cars. So how do you feel about all that? And your opinion is very important, ladies. So give me a call. And that's 877-960-9960. And don't forget that text number, 772-497-6530. Rick has something important to say.
On the question of cars, Negan1 is asking, I have a question. Does Earl think the used car market bubble will burst soon?
Actually, the used car is a great question. The used car market bubble has burst. It's just burst is the wrong word. There's a slow leak, and prices are coming down slowly. I mean, very slowly. We watch it closely, and I'm speaking largely from this region that we're in, the southeast region. There are pockets of all over the country of different economies and so on and so forth. But I really think that we're seeing wholesale prices come down, and that generally reflects retail prices, but not a lot. Used cars are still way overpriced. Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget that Earl, he wrote a column, a blog quite some time ago about the Florida law and these Florida car dealers breaking the law. And that website that I used to repeat, I'll remind you all again that you can go to www.floridalawprotectingcarbuyers.com. If your voice is not heard, if you don't, make it heard, nothing's going to change in this auto industry that we're all involved in and working in. So there's more information for you. Please give us a call at 877-960-9960, and you can also text us at 772-497-6530. We have no more calls, Stu. Do you have some texts for us?
Yeah, we have Anne-Marie as a text. It was waiting for us when we got in. Anne-Marie says, good morning. Jalopnik reports that Toyota will be bringing back the Toyota Crown to the United States for 2023. I'm familiar with Camrys, Corollas, and even the Cressida, but I've never heard of the Crown. 1, what is the Toyota Crown? And 2, how does it differ from a Camry? Toyota Crown is a luxury car. It's the flagship car of Toyota, but it's only sold.
Too young to know what a Crown is.
Probably, but it's sold in Japan, and as a matter of fact, the only thing I knew about it before was it was kind of like a boxy old luxury car, but and it was only sold in Japan. But
it was sold here. We had Crowns here, way
a long time ago.
That's the reason I said Anne Marie was too young.
Oh, okay.
Too
But
young.
they're currently one of the top luxury cars in Japan. And anyway, it's not much like a Camry. It's more like an Avalon or more like an LS 500. One of our service advisors just sent me and Earl an email with a whole bunch of information on it, and we'll study that later. But it's coming, and it's I saw a picture of it, and it's a really nice looking car.
Yeah, and the Crown has returned. Anne
Crown has
Marie,
returned.
after decades,
The return of the crown.
there you go.
Sounds like Game of Thrones or something.
I'm going to straighten my crown. Hold on a second. Anne Marie, honestly, I mean, I think you read my mind, or maybe you're in the house looking at my notes. Anyway, I found this article very interesting in the Automotive News yesterday, and the Crown has been sold, like I said, for decades in Japan. And it was certainly never recognized here. Well, in fact, it premiered yesterday, and it was built and it was sold. Everything was Japan, but if you know anything about the Avalon, you can't get the Avalon anymore. It's been discontinued. Hence, the Crown has taken its place. But the Crown aesthetically does look a whole lot different. Rick.
There's actually going to be up to 5 different models of the Crown.
We're talking too
Is
much
there?
about Toyotas, folks. I mean,
Okay, and it's
yeah,
a hybrid, but also available in all-wheel drive.
yeah. Okay. All right. What else we got?
Okay, we're going to go. Are you finished with
yeah.
Anne-Marie? Okay, we're going to go back to the phones, and we're going to talk to Warren, who gives us a call from New Jersey. Welcome back, Warren. Good morning.
Welcome back. Thank you. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you.
I just wanted to comment, Earl. A situation happened to me exactly about what you should tell somebody buying your car. Last year, when we had the flood up here, my car didn't get damaged that much, and the neighbor said to me, "I'm very interested in buying your car." So it's a Ford Taurus at 175,000 miles, but the fan had broke on it, and I had to go fix it, which was about $500-600. The first thing I told him was, "The fan is broken on the car, and you're going to have to fix that," because in good conscience, I didn't want somebody taking a car and getting stuck on a highway with a kid or something, and the car overheated to make a few dollars more. I wouldn't do that. Now, on the other hand,
Especially your neighbor.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, it's another thing. The car's been ding, bang. I mean, it's got more dings and bangs, all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he look at the body of the car. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to mention it. And if he asks me, I mean, it's in pretty good shape. And once I fix the fan, the air conditioner, everything worked. But I just feel if it's a safety issue, I think in good conscience, you really have to mention it, because how could you live with yourself if the guy drove off with it,
Good point.
and then the next thing you know, he got stuck in the middle of someplace and with a kid and the car overheats.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I agree, Warren. Warren, didn't you give us a call? It was quite some time ago when you were talking to us about so many of the cars around you were subjected to this flood, but you were parked on a hill, and your car
Right,
didn't get
correct.
affected.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I recall that.
That's why that's why the neighbor wanted the car, because I was on the hill and I was able to avoid that. And it was, it was the middle of the car shortage, and the reason why I hadn't fixed the fan at that time, I was thinking about buying a new one. But when I found out the new cars or used ones didn't exist, it just, I paid the piper and I paid whatever it was to fix the fan, and I still got the car. And but I just thought I wanted to comment, and I think in conscience, if it's a safety issue like an airbag or something like that, I don't know how anybody could do that, to sell a car with a dealer or an individual or something like. Now on the other hand, like I said, it is buyer beware. If the guy wants to take the car, I take it to a mechanic, drive it, and tells me 3 months later, the heated seat didn't work. Well, then I'm not going to lose sleep about it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we go on this show a lot, and we really beat up dealers and talk about how unethical, dishonest they are, and misrepresenting what they're selling. It's actually even scarier to buy a car from a private party, and so I think I'm not condoning what the dealers do. They're professionals. They have licenses. They have rules and regulations they should abide by. But from a practical standpoint, you're still better off dealing with a dealer, an honest dealer, or someone you can at least hold accountable, even if he's not honest. But if you buy from a private individual on the internet, you're really asking for trouble. And a lot of the people that sell you cars on the internet are not as honest as the people that you're listening to calling the show. Ethics and a good night's sleep and feeling responsible for the safety of the buyer, a lot of that doesn't exist in a lot of private sellers. So it's a rough, tough world out there, and
Absolutely.
And, you're better off to go with a professional seller
I
of cars.
agree with you because I had an acquaintance who wanted to buy a vet, a used one, and he went online all over the place, and he's up here in Jersey. He finally found somebody of all places in Seattle. He was ready to fly out there and everything. Then when it came proof to the title was all screwed up. The guy was divorced and found, it was a whole mess. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And of course, he ended up not buying the car. But like you said, when you buy from a private person, there's all sorts of crazy things that get involved in it that you may not be aware of. So,
Yeah.
sometimes it's worth the extra money to go to the dealer. You know you're not going to have any problems. Get the title, and you're on your way.
Yeah. Today that's very true, but I can definitely give you my opinion of back in the 60s or the 70s. I was looking for a private person to purchase a vehicle from, and I felt perfectly comfortable knowing that I got a car that was 100% and I didn't have to question anything about it. Rick?
Yeah, and just the one last thing. Sometimes, people go to the dealers or something, and I don't go to a dealer to get my car fixed at this point. But when my father was alive, he gave his Ford Focus to my daughter who was going to commute to law school. And he said to me, and I had to drive it from Florida to New Jersey, he said to me, take it to the dealer, and I want him to look at it. I said, that's a lot of money. I don't care. It's a safety issue to me, and I don't care what it costs to fix up the car.
Yeah.
Let them do it. They got the parts. They got this. He said, I'll sleep at night knowing you're driving up to Jersey with it. My granddaughter's going to have the car, and I'd rather have the dealer do it than some mechanic. So if I pay a few dollars more, I could care less.
Absolutely.
So sometimes, sometimes it's just a safety or whatever.
It's an investment.
Issue or,
I understand.
it's just, so I'll never forget. He says, well, "What do I care?" He says, "So if it costs me $500 more, it'll cost me $500 more," knowing full well that she has to drive the car in the dead of winter up here. If she had about a 45-minute drive to go to school, she said, and he said, once winter comes, then you want to make sure the tires are good, this is good, that's good.
Yeah.
So he says, it's worth it to me.
Good grandfather.
So,
He's a good grandfather.
It's an investment. It's a safety issue. It's everything, and it is worth it.
Thank you very
it
much,
is worth
Warren.
it.
Great call.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have
Warren,
a good
give
day.
us a call
Bye-bye.
again. We love hearing from you. We love talking to
Okay,
you
thank you very much.
from
Thank
New
you.
Jersey. Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you. From Jersey. Bye.
Yes. I can relate to that. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. Don't forget your anonymous feedback.com. We're going to go to John, who also is a regular caller from Palm City. Good morning, John. Welcome.
Good morning to everyone. I have two questions, two problems actually. One, I want to ask Rick, have you had any car towed in, mainly an SUV, that has 4 flat tires? Did you run across that recently?
No, not recently.
Okay, what's going on is throughout the whole country, especially on SUV, the environmentalists are picking on SUVs and they're knifing the tires, all 4 tires, because they're claiming that the SUV is bad for our environment and using too much gas. So it's a problem. You've probably seen it. It's even on the local news, and I hope that doesn't continue or get worse, because basically there's not much we can do about it.
I read that, John, and I just couldn't believe it. I know I read it and heard about it, but I just couldn't believe it.
That seems like such
my
a
younger
well-thought-out
daughter saw it
plan.
already in Manhattan. And then speaking about Manhattan, that's the second thing that I want to talk about. De Blasio, before he retired at mayor, he allocated 100 spots, parking spots, for the electric EV charging stations. And some of them are in the process. Con Edison, the local utility, is getting the revenue from them and paying to build them. But what's happening, and it's going to happen in here, and it's going to happen everywhere, is people are starting to use them as parking spots. Because as everybody knows, you saw in the news this week, They just raised the parking fees in West Palm Beach. A lot of the meters that used to expire at 7 o'clock at night, they're continuing to go through the whole 24 hours. And people are getting a little smart about the charging stations, so they're going to need a policeman or security or meter readers or something to stop this from going on, because they're going to tend to more and more use these EV stations at parking, especially in the bigger cities. And then I want to tell you something else. They're really too slow to build these EV stations. I pass in Martin County a Wawa station, and all of the spots are always taken. They're Tesla charging. They're always taken, which means that there's not enough of them. And in 2021, the government allocated $7.5 million to the states to build these fast charging stations. And their goal was to have, in a federal law, one charging station every 50 miles off interstates. I don't see that going on so far, and I don't, it's an old saying, they get behind the times, and here the cars are there, and then there won't be enough parking, spots to charge the cars. But I definitely see that happen.
You mean to tell me, John, that the federal government has done something stupid? I can't believe that.
Yes. That was actually allocated by the government under Biden administration to have every 50 miles off the interstate to have these charging stations. But it doesn't seem like much of movement is going on already, and it's a problem.
Well, that's why Tesla is leading the EV sales by a landslide. That's why all of their models are in the top 10. And that's because they had the foresight to build their own charging stations nationwide. Now, you said the Tesla station, there are people in line there. I guess I call that a good problem. There's nobody in these charging stations of the non-Tesla chargers, and that's the reason people are using them for parking spaces, because nobody uses them. It's the federal government is useless to a large extent when it comes to things like this. They have no foresight, no vision. They don't understand reality. And I'm not talking about Biden or Trump or anybody else. I'm talking about the whole damn government. Whether you're talking local, state, or federal, they're just inefficient. I mean, the best government in the world. I mean, we're very fortunate to be in America. It's the best one, but they sure are inefficient. Thanks for sharing that with us, John.
I just want to say the proof of the pudding is they've already started in Texas that you can only charge your electric vehicle at certain times because they got the power grid problem.
Oh, boy.
It's summertime, and, extra electric is being used. So, again, it's everything government behind and planning.
Yeah.
It's just like done. It's still in the stores. There's still a shortage of baby formula. How long is it going to take them to get caught up on that?
Hard to believe. Hard to believe. Terrible.
Yes. Well, let's hang in there. We know the EVs is coming, but let's plan that they'll be able to handle all of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good point, isn't it? John, thanks so much. We love hearing from you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great weekend. 877-960-9960, and you can text us at 772-497-6530. Rick, your point?
Yeah, just a quick thought on that tire thing.
Yeah.
It seems like such a well-thought-out plan to destroy brand-new tires, which will then wind up in a landfill because they'll have to replace the tires. And so we're adding more tires to the garbage, which... We have an issue with already.
Doesn't make sense.
Really good for the environment. Well thought out plan there, folks.
Well,
good.
Let me jump on that SUV hating thing for a minute. This really, it's in automotive news this week. Germany just passed a law that increases fines on SUVs. So if you run a red light in an SUV, or if you're in an accident with an SUV that's your fault, your fine's about twice as much as it is with another car. Reason being that an SUV is, it's a gas guzzler. It's big. If you hit another car with it, it causes more damage than you hit it with a smaller car. So they're penalizing people who buy. I wonder what a Hummer costs in Germany if you wreck a Hummer. But I thought that was interesting. I've never heard of a country actually discriminating between year, make, model of cars as to how much the fine would be. But point of interest.
Interesting. Very. We're going to go back to the phones, and we'll talk to Marty from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Marty. Oh, well, thank you.
I have a question for either Earl or Stu. Every so often I go on the internet just to look up the used car value, just using it as a trade-in, and I see the value is going down, whether it's Carvana, whether it's CarMax, whether it's anything. However, on the new car side of it, nobody's discounting their cars. So right now it looks like if you're trading in a car, it looks like you're going to be paying even more money than you were 2 months ago.
That's true. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, used cars are becoming easier to come by. I mean, the prices are still high, but like Earl said today, there's a leak in the balloon, and you can hear a squeak. I wish I had a balloon when you said that I was going to make the noise for you. And so it's coming down. So that big advantage that offset the high used new car prices is it's not as big as it was. It's still it's still better than it was ever before, but it's not as good as it was.
Yeah, I mean the discount on a new car, which it used to be $3,000-4,000, which they're not giving you anymore, and if not charging over sticker, you're losing even more money now.
Yeah.
Doing anything.
Well, Marty, I'm glad you mentioned that because it reinforces something we've talked about on the show for a few weeks, and that is taking advantage of the seller's market. I know the used car values are coming down a little, but it's still a seller's market, and the prices are still very, very high. And I wrote a blog a few weeks ago. I think I entitled it "The Greater Fool Theory," or I talked about the greater fool. The greater fool means it's a Wall Street term, and when you're a seller and you buy something at too high a price, you can usually find somebody that'll pay an even higher price, and that person is the greater fool. And it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, a little facetious, but very sophisticated Wall Street traders use that. You should use that in all folks that are trading a car in or selling a car. And I had a personal experience I'll share with you, and I don't know if Stu knows about this, but Nancy does. A friend of ours, father, had to sell a car, a Highlander, and she called me up and said, can you get us a good price? So I checked with our wholesale person at our dealership, and he checked around at some sources. We said, shop the car, Carvana and all the other sources out there, and to get the highest price for our friend. And we did. And then the friend called me back and said, thanks for everything you did, but we took the car to CarMax, and they paid us $26,000 for the car. Well, the highest we offered, I think, was $25,000. So I was a little bit unhappy with that, and I investigated it, and come to find out that when we had looked at her car, we found out that there was actually some mold from dampness in the roof, and there was also an accident, a minor accident that hadn't been reported, but it was still an accident, and so we did not mention that to CarMax, and neither did apparently the person that brought it in there to sell it, and they paid the full $26,000. Either that or CarMax didn't care, or they cared. They just said it was still worth it. My point is greater fool theory. I'm a fool because we didn't pay enough money for my friend's car, and CarMax got the car. They were the greater fool, but I still feel the responsibility. So I'm a professional. I'm a car dealer. If I can make a mistake on a car of $1,000 for a friend, you out there in Radio Land can also make a mistake. So shop until your shoes get worn off. That's figuratively, of course, because you're going to be on the phone. And call. There's at least a half a dozen, more than that, actually, sources to sell your car to. You should shop as many as you can. And in a day or two, you could probably shop 15 of them. And one of them out there will pay you considerably more than the others, and that's the message for the day. And thank you, Marty, for bringing that to my mind.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too, my friend.
Thanks, Marty. Always great hearing from you. I want to remind the ladies how instrumental you have been in helping us here at Earl Stewart on Cars, and we have increased the number of calls from women, and I want to thank you for that. But I also want to remind you that we need to stay at this. We need to This platform has to be built from concrete, and we need to hold on, and we all need to participate. That leads me to this invitation. First two new lady callers, give us a call. $50 for the first two new lady callers. Share your experience or just say hello. 877-960-9960, or give us a text at 772-497-6530. Rick, do you have something for us?
I do have one interesting question. Earl, have you seen the reports that BMW is charging $18 a month to activate your heated seats in your car?
Yeah, almost all the manufacturers are doing something similar.
That's more than Netflix.
Even Toyota is doing it. This is a new thing, money-making opportunity for auto manufacturers,
But it's heated seats, which are flip a switch, the heater comes on.
yeah,
But apparently they can, if you don't pay your subscription,
sure.
they'll deactivate your heated
They'll
seats
chill your butt.
in a car that you
Yikes.
bought and
How
paid
about,
for.
how about Sirius radio? I mean, it's a switch. You know,
Yeah.
flip the switch. Doesn't cost them anything whether you listen to the radio or not.
Right, but I can understand that because you're paying
Well,
for a
it costs
streaming
Sirius.
service.
Well, you're paying to keep your fanny warm. That's a service.
But you bought and paid for a car,
cold as the case
and you
may be.
bought and paid for the heater, and it's all there in your
You
car.
bought and paid for the Sirius radio because it's good.
Yeah.
They turn it on for 6 months to get you used to it.
Yeah.
And when you're used to it, they turn it off and say, now you'll have to pay this much
well,
for the rest of your life.
All right.
Well, Sirius cares if you don't use it. Then they don't make money.
So if you buy a BMW secondhand,
Yeah.
then you have to get a subscription to get.
That's right.
Wow, that just
Okay.
More good news. We're going to go back to the phones, and I thank you, Chuck, for holding. Chuck's calling us from Oklahoma.
Good morning, all. How's everyone this morning?
Great. Welcome.
I bought used cars all my life. I heard you talking about used cars. My thing was, of course, I would scour all the newspapers and whatever I could find, and then I'd find the ones I liked. I'd call them, get the feedback on it, go to the house, talk to the people, see what kind of home they lived in, and then what I like to do is make sure they had records on everything. And one of my biggest thing was if I could ever find one owner, if I knew it was one owner that had the car and I was talking to the guy, I could get feedback immediately and I could read people and say, okay, this guy is a solid guy. I could probably trust this car. And then if they had the records from all the maintenance records, I knew I'd hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
And then test drive it. I never even took it to a mechanic. I mean, you know, take it to your mechanic. Of course, I used to work in a shop, so I was pretty good at being a mechanic myself. So, but that was part of my deal for getting a good used car.
Well, that's kind of a seat of the pants way to do it. It works. It's a little. I think today you can do a lot of that digitally, but yeah, I like it. Years ago we had a sales manager. His name was Terry Chapin, and he worked for us at the dealership. And anytime we had an appraisal, he would always inspect the car. And if it was sloppy, if there was a spilled milkshake in the front seat, cigarette butts, you know, all the roaches. I mean, some of these, you'd be surprised what some cars look like when they come in. Now, chances are they would clean it up and wash it before they traded it in, but he'd look at the car before there was even any discussion of the trade-in. And if you had somebody that was really, you know, couldn't even keep their car neat and clean, you wonder what they did mechanically in terms of upkeep and maintenance. But yeah, I like that, seeing where the owner lived and talking to him. And, you know, personality of owner of anything is often reflected in what they own. That's a very good idea.
Now, I had a friend just recently, his wife loves the Corvettes, and so she went on the internet and found one in Illinois, and they have about 5 different cars, BMW, so they, you know, he's got like a 5-car garage, but he's a car guy and a motorcycle guy, and they just like that kind of stuff, so they jumped in their BMW and drove up to Illinois and picked up the new Corvette for $70,000, drove it back to Oklahoma.
Yeah. You know, the average distance people are driving now to buy a used car is over 400 miles. So So a lot of people are doing just what you described. That's an average, so that means people are driving 2,000 miles. Of course, people are buying them next door, but the average distance is over 400 miles to buy a used car. Today, putting in modern terms, two things I always hammer: Carfax report and an independent mechanic. You do those two things, you can't get hurt too bad when you buy a car. Carfax, and take it to your mechanic, not the mechanic the dealer recommends, not his mechanic certainly, but the one that you I hope you have one that you can trust. And if he checks it out and you get a good clean Carfax report, you're pretty safe.
Right. And we're talking about why do people buy the SUVs and the big vehicles?
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the 70s, and back then when we had the gas crunch, that was the whole thing. Everybody said, "Uh-oh, we got to buy these the Toyotas," and all the Europeans were building smaller vehicle, fuel-efficient vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So the big three automakers, they said, "Uh-oh, we're going to lose all our market share. We've got to start building." Well, of course, they were late to the game.
Yeah.
But eventually they put in all the smaller vehicles. You could still buy the big ones if you wanted them,
Mm-hmm.
but they knew they had to go in for the fuel efficiency or they were going to lose their market share.
Yeah, I wonder where it would have been if it weren't for the Japanese. I wonder how long it would take them before they'd have figured out fuel economy was important. We'd probably be out of oil by now.
Right. Well, but here's the funny part. Like I live in the country, and everybody and their brother has a giant, the biggest pickup truck they could buy. And a lot of them need it, sure, but then I lived in the city of Houston, and everybody there had a giant pickup truck, and nobody ever drove it ever off the road.
Right. It's a macho, it's kind of a status symbol. And
Status symbol.
the joke used to be, look at the pickup trucks on the road and tell me what % of them have anything in the back. And most people
Exactly.
don't have anything in the back of the pickup truck. You're right. It's become cool to drive a big, loud, heavy pickup truck. So
The reason I never bought one is because I knew every one of my friends was going to call me up and want me to move them out of their apartment.
Rick thinks he's cool driving around in that pickup truck.
Yeah, he does. He thinks it's real. He is cool, actually. It's real cool. Yeah.
It's real cool
puts
how
things in his
clean
pickup
he
truck.
keeps that truck.
Yeah.
It looks brand new.
Last week, I helped a buddy of mine move over 300 pounds of aluminum cans from his house to the recycle center.
That's a lot of cans.
I thought they were full of beer.
Wow.
That's a very good one.
But Earl,
I appreciated that.
Earl,
Yeah.
I did get a Cadillac. My best used car was a Cadillac Baritz, midnight blue with a half silver top.
Oh boy! Wow.
It was actually my wedding car. And the funny thing is, when I pulled up to that house, they had a couple of beautiful BMWs parked out front. So I thought, uh-oh, these people are really high end. And sure enough, the guy, father was leaving the country and selling the Cadillac, and he actually owned the dealership. But it was his mother's, I think it was his mother's car anyhow. That Cadillac was fantastic. And I just kept replacing parts brand new on it because I wanted to keep it, because it was so nice. Anyhow, the worst part of the story is me and my friend were out to the golf course one Sunday morning, and the guy ran me off the road.
Oh man.
And believe it or not, luckily we both had seatbelts on, but we hit the barrels going off the highway.
Oh,
We were up real high. It was like NASCAR. The car flew up in the air, flew upside down, and came down on the top.
Oh my God.
You're lucky to be here.
And we
Boy.
walked out of there with just scratches.
That was the end of the car, huh?
My
What a
gosh,
story.
I'm never going to see this car again. Was
I
my
didn't think
biggest
things were that exciting in Oklahoma.
That sounded like Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
Well, this was in this was
Oh,
in
Houston. Okay.
Yeah, on the 610 loop. So.
Well, thanks for the call. You always make a great call, and you always got some great experiences. Thank you very much.
Nice to hear from you, Chuck. Okay, folks, give us a call. Toll free, 877-960-9960. And you can also text us at 772-497-6530. I have another question for our audience, and that is in reference to whether your next car would it be a gas only? Oh, my allergies. Excuse me. Gas only? Or would it be a hybrid or an electric? Give us a call.
Get some water. Well, we have some anonymous feedback I can get to, unless we have callers holding.
While I choke.
While you choke, let's fill in some airtime. Do we have any callers? Okay. Anonymous feedback says, I watch your report for Starling Buick of Stewart. I would never patronize a dealership that tries to screw a customer. But wait, who would buy a Buick anyway? Oh, that's mean. I don't think that many people do relative to the whole market. Next anonymous feedback says, boy, times have changed. I don't know if this is a shot at us but I'll just read it. It says, boy, times have changed since you did the mystery shop of Wallace Nissan. Just 2 years ago, we judged people by whether or not they wore masks. Wallace Nissan lost big points to their lack of masks and the salesperson's Tim's handshake. Well, I don't remember that one particularly, but yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, I mean, that was a big deal, and it was a different situation. I mean, we're not wearing masks right now.
Yeah, that's a very perceptive call. It shows you how things change, and you don't know what's coming next. Before that, it was a Takata airbag. I mean, boy, you sold a car with a Takata airbag recall, we just nailed you. And it was terrible. And now we don't even talk about that. There's probably just as many cars out there with defective Takata airbags as there ever was, and we don't even talk about it. So everything is a matter of priority and what's going on in the world today.
Exactly. Okay, it's like headlines. They, the news for about maybe 2 days. You get it's everything, and then the next day it's a new news cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to interrupt Stu to get back to the phones, where we're going to talk to John from West Palm Beach. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Good morning. And I called to answer your question. Our next car purchase is going to be another Tesla, or battery EV. Just due to the experience with the one we have now, we completely love it, and it may not only be a Tesla; it may be one of the other EVs. Wish Toyota would get out with their EV.
Yeah.
John, let me ask you a question. What is your driving style? Do you do a lot of long distance driving? Do you do strictly local? How many miles do you put on your vehicle in a year?
We bought it in September. We've got 18,000 miles on it now. We bought it brand new, and we have the standard version, not the extended miles or anything like that. Just went to Michigan. I'll probably be heading back up there again. And the whole trip from West Palm Beach to Houghton Lake, which is in the middle of the state, cost $70.
Wow.
So that was driving. And you put your destination in, but that's not where you're going. You're driving from supercharger to supercharger.
Good point.
And
yeah.
I think I called and already told you that.
Yeah.
But I drive about 30 miles a day because I work in West Palm. But I live in West Palm, but work in Jupiter, Florida, and drive the car. Charge it every other day. So we'll be looking at another EV.
And you feel
just due to that fact.
you feel kind of a almost guilty sense of gratification and happiness when you drive by a gas station and see the $5 a gallon gas, don't you? I mean, I didn't. Paying high prices for gas is not fun, but you know what? I just dislike having to stop. I dislike having to stop for gas, and I drive an EV. I dislike that. And I also, it was, to me, I'm 6'3", and they put the LCD readout display for people that are 5'3", I think. I had to stoop down to read it, and then if the sun is in the wrong place, it reflects off that. I can't see how I get a receipt. I can't see how many gallons I get. I can't see the price, and then I'm waiting, and then there's a guy that parks in front of me, and he could have pulled up and given me access to the pumps behind him, so I just hated gas stations. So now, every time I go by, I just smile.
But don't don't you just think about me saying to you, stay in the car, Earl.
Yeah.
I'll pump the gas. I love pumping the gas.
And when I get home,
No problem.
When I get home, I just plug into my car and I go in the house. I go in the garage. I play. So yeah, I'm. But I don't drive a lot. That's the reason I asked you how much you drove, and you do quite a bit of driving. So
Yeah.
you're comfortable. And as you say with Tesla, one of the reasons they're the leader in electric vehicles by a mile is because they had the foresight to build a network of chargers all over the United States. And they've got a lot of superchargers. And for people who are not familiar with that, a supercharger will charge your Tesla to 80%. So it'll typically give you about 300 miles of range in 20 minutes. Now, I guess you could get in and out of a gas station in less than 20 minutes, depending on how busy they are. But that's not too long. You go in there, you get a Coke, you get some crackers, you stretch your legs, you go to the restroom. 20 minutes is not bad. So charging is not an issue for Tesla owners, but for everybody else, I was curious as to how big an issue it is. I think it still is for some.
Earl,
Yeah.
Earl, the reason why I say that you don't look at the destination, the final destination, you're looking at the superchargers because you don't charge fully. What
Yeah.
you're doing is you're driving, you're charging up to get to the next supercharger.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
Good point.
So your charging limits are like 10 to 15 minutes.
Good point. Yeah.
And then,
Good point. Yeah.
and then, and it gives you enough charge to get to the next supercharger.
Yeah.
What happened was sometimes if I'm not familiar with the where I'm going, I just went ahead and charged it fully. And we happen to be fortunate when we bought our car. We have the European model where we can charge our battery up to 100% instead of the 80%.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great. I have to drop it down, otherwise it shortens the life of the battery. That's good to know.
Right.
Now,
Yeah,
John, could you repeat that again? What model did you say?
European.
Well, we have the Model 3.
Model
but
3.
But it was the European model and the chips and all that stuff. So when they brought it here, when it came in, we were one of those Ford. We didn't have to wait. When we test drove the car on one of those half-hour test drives, we asked, are there any cars for sale? They said no. You got to buy it through the computer and that. And then the young lady said, wait a second. And she remembered that there was a shipment of 300 Teslas coming into the state. Some for Miami, some for Fort Lauderdale, some for West Palm Beach. Mm-hmm. And so she helped us get on the website, and we bought the car right there.
Wow, great.
And this, I understand. I know your story of your waiting period for your Plaid.
Yeah. It's even worse now. So Nancy wants one, but she's talking a longer wait than I had for my Plaid. So, well, that's a good problem for Elon Musk, right? He's cranking them out as fast as he can, and he can't meet the demand. Actually, production's up in the United States, but in China, he got in a lot of trouble. Some of his gigafactories in China slowed way down. So, anyway.
John, are you trying to achieve autonomy in your Tesla?
No, I'm not going. No, I'm not. I like to drive. I want my hands on the wheel. I like to drive. If I wanted to be a passenger, I'd let someone else drive.
I see. Is that a yoke?
But I do think no, I don't have the yoke. But I am looking at from Hand Show the little adapter that goes behind the heads-up display that shows everything from the computer so it puts it in front of you instead of having to look to the side. Yeah. And that one thing that for the Tesla owners, we've developed a little bubble in our steering wheel in the leather wrap, and they're fixing it for free. They already have the steering wheel in stock, and they put it aside for us. And that's one of the problems I've seen. And it's a little thing, but still, we paid a lot for the steering wheel. With the car.
Well, listen, thanks. It's always good to talk to a fellow Tesla enthusiast, and you're as excited about yours as I am mine, and we're going to have to get on to our next caller because I don't allow us to talk too much about Teslas or Toyotas on this show because we're prejudiced. Thank you, John.
Give us a call again, John.
Very good. I'll call you when I get my Hummer EV.
There you go.
Oh, please. We'd love to hear from you.
Now you're talking. All right, thank you.
Okay. Guys, what do you have for me?
Okay.
Text or
Yeah, I got
YouTube?
text. I got text. Jonathan in Wellington. We're going to talk about Tesla for a second. The question for Earl: how much did it cost to set up your electric car charging station in your home? I think the charger I ordered, if it was $400 for the charger, and I don't know what you paid the electrician to put it
It
in
was like $1,400 total.
for the installation.
Yeah.
That seems about average. I think
Yeah.
it's close to what I paid for mine
Yeah.
for the installation.
Yeah.
So it's going to cost you about $2,000 to set up a charging station. So that's another cost you got to consider. Eventually, that will amortize down.
Well, you got
over
a
the years.
two-car garage, and you got two electric vehicles. You can
Yeah.
use the same charging station.
That's true. You'll fight over the plug.
Yeah, well, you just have to switch sides of the garage.
Yeah.
Nancy and I were having that discussion.
A lot of
What
competition.
if you don't have a garage?
Well, then you
Are,
just
are
have,
they waterproof?
well, yeah,
They are. I got mine set up not in my garage. Mine's outside because I use my garage as a storage for hoarders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all the charging stations all over the country are not in
Yeah,
garages.
but they're weatherproofed. Yeah. Okay.
We got a text from Bob. He says, I'd buy a hybrid due to being retired and not putting on much mileage. Also, I believe that it would take years to recoup the additional price of an EV. I also believe it's going to be years from now to be able to drive an EV wherever I wanted to go.
I think that's a great answer. I mean,
Hybrid's great.
if I weren't who I am, and I'm not a normal person. If I were a normal person, I would buy an EV. Rick is going nuts. Oh, okay.
Trying to get you closer to the microphone.
Yeah, just say, get close to the microphone. I'm not good on sign language. So anyway, yeah, good answer. A hybrid car is the best person for a normal driver. I'm abnormal. Nancy's shaking her hand there.
Very much so. Okay.
I got some anonymous feedback.
Do.
Okay. This is a good one. I read this a couple of days ago. Earl, you made a reference to going to Hershey, Pennsylvania for a mystery shop in Saturday's show. FYI, there are no new car dealerships in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
We had a Chevy dealer, but it closed years ago. Hershey is a few hours drive east of Irwin. And Earl, Mars makes M&Ms, not the Hershey company.
No Hershey's.
They make kisses. That mistake is akin to blasphemy here in Hershey. There is a Mars chocolate factory nearby in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania.
You know, it's funny because Hershey does not allow car dealers. I don't think it's because car dealers don't want to be in Hershey. There are certain communities. Now, Jupiter does not allow car dealers. You say, oh, wait, you got a car dealer. Yeah. Somehow Brayman got in there, and then with his BMW, and I think I won't speculate on how it happened, but I know because I tried to build a car dealership in Jupiter, and I know a lot of other dealers that tried to build car dealerships in Jupiter, and Jupiter doesn't like car dealers. Boca Raton has no car dealerships. They don't like car dealers. I mean, at some point, the car dealers should realize, why don't people like me? And I'm just saying, now we know. I got a great idea. Folks out there, we're national now. Well, your community, are you living in a community that does not allow car dealers? Boca, Jupiter, and Hershey. Let's see how long a list we can get.
Right.
What about Weston?
Yeah. Well,
What about Weston?
We're about a third of the way through the anonymous feedback
I don't
here.
know. Weston.
Weston?
Might be.
Take a look at a drive-through in Weston.
They have
I mean,
car
they
dealers.
got more code enforcement down there.
They have AutoNation in Weston. Is a big Toyota dealership down there. So
There is?
Oh yeah. And by the way, I don't think they said Hershey doesn't allow them. He says the last dealership,
They
Chevy.
didn't say that, but Boca Raton doesn't say that either.
I'm not. I was talking about this. He says the Chevy dealership closed a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the chocolate place. Fun fact: this is about the Mars Chocolate Factory in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. They just recently had someone fall into a vat of chocolate there. Think about Augustus Gloop from the Charlie and Chocolate Factory movie. I'm a native of Pennsylvania, and that dock fee seems to be standard.
I wonder how long after he fell in they discovered that. How many bars have they sold before they discovered?
I don't know. That's gross. I bought my last car in 2021, and the dock fee was $394, which is in line with what your mystery shop showed at the time.
Yeah. So, is that all our text?
That's just the last one. I got more if you want it.
Yeah, let's keep going.
This is anonymous feedback. Scotty Kilmer has a YouTube video that talks about the hidden cost of electric vehicles. The last part of the video mentions that full self-driving mode for a Tesla may be as much as $10,000. Not maybe as much, it is $10,000.
They reduced the price.
Oh, okay. may not be as much. Seems like there will be a lot of additional cost to operate in addition to the high cost of the vehicle. Yeah, and Earl was talking about like additions, like subscriptions. Even Tesla has that. There's a full connectivity subscription that gives you access to internet radio and some other stuff, and the full self-driving thing is an upgrade.
Well, everything every time someone talks about a new vehicle, new technology, and the high cost, that's always the case. And so the answer is always volume, competition, and it will come down. So we're not saying that everybody should buy EVs now because they are very, very expensive. But, in 10 years, 15 years, that won't be the case. Rick, you're waving at me again.
I was just looking online just like 2 minutes ago. A Tesla Model 3 is, according to the online thing, after savings, around $51,000, just the basic car. And it said for the full self-driving, that was an additional $12,000. Mm-hmm. So they may discount it from there, but online it's listing right now $12,000 for the self-drive.
Well, that's almost academic because full self-driving is illegal.
Yep.
So even the limited amounts that they authorize, you still have to sit in the car with your hands on your wheel and your feet poised over the brake and accelerator. So that's full self-driving, but it's not really what we want.
Yeah.
Full self-driving is what they have in San Francisco now. There's a small company out there that has a fleet of taxi cabs. They are full self-driving.
That would be wonderful.
And you hit your app, they pull up in front of you, and you hop in the back seat. There's nobody in the car, and it takes you wherever you want to go. That's full self-driving. But the fully autonomous we're talking about here with Teslas and the rest of them for $10,000, $12,000 or less, it's not really full autonomy.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get back to the phones. We're going to talk to Douglas from Wellington. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'd like to share some feedback that I recently had with the Costco auto program.
Oh, good.
And I know that Earl has recommended that, very highly in the Florida Weekly columns that I've read off and on for several years and on the radio show. So I'm looking for like a 2015 to a 2019 Toyota Corolla.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a Corolla, could be a Civic, Kia Forte, Hyundai Elantra, something like that. But I'm really leaning towards the Corolla. So I called Costco like Thursday, and they said the closest Costco dealer to you is Earl Stewart Toyota.
Wow, that's good. The used car program is different than the new car program, but certainly it's a safer way to buy a car. So I appreciate that input.
Sure. So anyway, and one of the reasons that I want a used car or a pre-owned car is, maybe I'm old-fashioned in terms of technology, but I like to have a CD player. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I went to Earl Stewart and I met with Mike, Magic Mike.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is maybe 2 or 3 nights ago. He was very friendly, very knowledgeable.
Little short guy, right?
Yeah. But he just didn't have the inventory. There was only a couple of cars, and he was nice and everything was fine. But since the inventory was there, so I called back Costco the next day, and it said, I had a good experience at Earl Stewart, but they didn't have what I was looking for. So they said, okay, well, the next closest dealership to your zip code is Al Hendrickson Toyota in just lady, just better. So I contacted them yesterday, did a couple text messages, and I arrived around 7, and my contact that I had texted with had already left for the day. So I go in there, and it's like there didn't seem to be any sort of formal contact person. Nobody introduced themselves. but there was a guy who kind of seemed like a manager, and he looked at his computer, and he found a 2019 Toyota Corolla that I had actually found online earlier in the day, but I didn't say anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he put me to one of his guys. We looked at it. It's nice. We took it for a little drive. Anyway, the bottom line is that the price on was $20,800 and something. Right? But what got me is they threw in all these extra fees.
Mm-hmm.
They did not have a formal Costco worksheet, as supposedly there is, but I know there's sometimes a dealer's fee of $400 or $800 or whatever they charge. There were like 2 different dealer fees for $800, $900 each. There was a reconditioning fee of $1,760.
Yeah.
$400 per plate. So I walked away.
Douglas, did you, at first you said you didn't tell them you were a Costco member. Did you eventually tell them you were a Costco member?
No, I did. I told them that up
front.
front.
You did? Okay, good. Yeah. What I was going to say, the Costco auto buying program, for you folks who don't know about it, it's a great program. It's even greater when we don't have a COVID epidemic and a huge shortage of supply and extremely high prices. The only thing the best thing about the Costco auto program for new car is the requirement is that the car be sold to you, a Costco member, at a lower price than you sell that car to anyone else for. Now, with the used car program, Douglas, it's a little different. We didn't used to be members of the used car program. The used car program required us to discount the car $1,000 from what we advertise the car for. Now, because we advertise our cars for the price we actually sell them for, we have a low price to begin with, and we didn't want to have to take $1,000 off on the used car. Well, we did it anyway. So now with used car prices so high, we're able to take $1,000 off and still make a profit. But there are two different types of programs, and a dealer can be a member of one, new car only or used car only, I think. And the thing it protects you from is exactly what Al Hendrickson violated, and you should report this to Costco. They're supposed to have a Costco member price sheet, and that price sheet is supposed to fully disclose any extra charges, and it's also supposed to have the actual price that you pay. So he didn't do that. He violated that. You should make a phone call if you've got the time, if you care, to Costco and say, Al Hendrickson Toyota is violating the rules of the Costco program because they added, what did you say, $1,700 in fees and never told me about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed, they had a worksheet. It didn't formally say Costco.
Right.
And when I said, okay, well, can I take this worksheet with me so I can go over it? They said, no, we don't let it go out of house.
Yeah, that's Al Hendrickson. I think he's the third or fourth largest Toyota dealer in the world. Sells a huge number of vehicles, and it's amazing what he gets away with. But yeah, that's a direct violation. They should cancel him as a dealer or make him comply. And they're supposed to shop and compare. They're supposed to go into their dealer members, and see if they are complying. So we haven't tested Costco in a long time. We probably should. We should be doing some mystery shops and maybe testing the program again. It's a good company. I love Costco, but you really. A bad dealer can become a Costco member, unfortunately. And there's too many dealers out there for Costco to police all of them. So buyer beware. Costco membership, way to go, but be very careful. Don't buy it without seeing the Costco member price sheet. If they don't have one, they're in violation of the rules.
Yeah. And they were giving me that whole thing, I can knock off a couple of $100 here. And I'm what will it take for you to walk out the door tonight or something like that?
Old school.
And I was really surprised that supposedly Costco is a good program. So I think I'm certainly entitled to complain.
You should, yeah. And by the way, the Costco program there's a subsidiary. Costco is not behind the program. Costco calls it the Costco program, but there's a separate company they deal with. So you can still complain directly to Costco, but then they go to the company. You know, Stu and I have had a couple of meetings with the Costco group, and you know, they're honest, but they're a little difficult to deal with, to be honest with you sometimes.
They're car guys.
Yeah.
They are car guys.
They are car guys, yeah. Yeah, you have to. So if you complain, they will enforce the rules. That's all I can tell you. I wish Costco themselves were administering the program, but there's a separate company they use, and that's another story. I've written a blog or two on that, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, is each dealer required to offer the same Costco discount, or is that different?
The Costco discount is only what the dealer is selling the car for. So if I have a new car and I sold that model, the least I ever sold it to anybody for was $20,000. I'd have to sell it to you for below $20,000. That's the rule. The Costco does not tell you what to sell the car for. Costco says, sell our members a car below your lowest price, and they sign a contract to that agreement, and that's what they have to do. So you still want to, ideally, you would shop 2 or 3 Costco dealers, because 3 Costco dealers would probably all have different prices, and you should take the lowest price between 3 Costco dealers. But if there's only one Costco dealer, you're supposed to be assured that that car you bought was never sold to anybody else for less money than you pay. For less money than you paid.
Right. And I know sometimes it's a little harder with a used car, you know, because you're not comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges.
Yeah, different. I'm not crazy about the used car program, but we're members. We discount our used cars $1,000 off of what we advertise the car for. Unfortunately, we advertise the car for what we really sell it for, while all the other dealers
get to add that $1,000, and they get to add the $1,000 back with the dealer fee.
Exactly, they get their $1,000 back and then some. So we don't do that.
All right, let me ask you, what is a normal fee for registering tags and title? Like, I'm not transferring, I'm doing a new tag.
A new one? It could be $250 to $400.
All right, so a new tag could be $400, $250 to $400.
Yeah. Something like that.
And what would be considered a reasonable dealer fee?
They range so far.
There are no reasonable dealers.
The lowest one we've seen recently is like $400. We saw CarMax was $390.
CarMax is $399.
And the highest we've seen is Al Hendrickson. Funny we should say that. The highest one is Al Hendrickson, which is about $3,000.
That might have changed, but
it might have changed.
But we've seen 3,000.
They have multiple dealer fees and it changed. But at one time we mystery shopped Al Hendrickson, and it was $3,000.
The average in this area is probably around $1,000. Yeah. And so a reasonable one, if you want a reasonable, is less than that.
See, they not only have hidden fees, junk fees, dealer fees, but they also have addendum labels, which have worthless addendums, nitrogen tires. So they have a plethora of ways to screw you and overcharge you for things that cost them $100. They charge you $1,000, and then fees they pretend to be government fees, and they're just profit to the dealer. There's a lot of ways they add to the advertised price. So. Doug, thanks for a great call, and we got some callers here waiting, so please call again next week.
Great hearing from you, Doug. We're going to go to Steve, who's been holding in Boynton. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing?
My man, the Roadrunner.
There you go, the Roadrunner.
All right, I got a question. How do you adjust the points with a push-button start car? How do you click it on and off?
You got to get this Wordlenko tools out, and the flux capacitor has to be set to negative 43 points.
Trick question. Okay, my thing is, I compare electric cars to music on CDs. You know why?
Why?
We started out with 8-tracks, then we went to cassettes, then we went to CDs. So now we go from gas cars to electric cars. But the funny thing is now, Everybody wants to go back to vinyl records. As a matter of fact, they opened up 3 or 4 new places to start making vinyl records again because people like the sound and the quality of the music.
Right.
Well, people ride horses too, so it's they're always going to be combustion engines. There'll always be horse and buggies.
There'll be a big comeback in the trend, like in 40 years from now.
Right.
Yeah,
Like a hobby.
that's what was old is new again. That's what I don't understand.
That's right.
Hey, Steve, don't
And
forget
all
that
I
back in the
read-
40s, there were cars that had record players installed
That's
in the
right.
car.
I'm sure that went.
They actually
I
worked
had
pretty
an
well.
8-track playing in my '69 Barracuda, but that got heisted out of there from the clever hiding place under the seat. Somebody stole it out from under the seat with that. That was I know you like that story. How come last week it was so busy I couldn't even get on?
Because Josh was here. When Josh is on the show, the phones light up.
Oh, okay. That was so. Everybody nice and healthy.
So far, yeah.
Yeah, we are. Thank you.
I've
Thank
been,
you.
I'm immune to
reading
COVID,
a lot of-
apparently.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of stories on the internet about the electric cars going on fire. Then I was reading about the Fords. They're telling you to keep them outside because the motor's going on fires and everything like that. Is half these stories true or not true?
Yeah, probably. Probably.
No, only
gas
about half
combustion
of
cars have never caught on fire, though.
Hey, Steve, what are your thoughts on what you just mentioned? Of course, the latest Tesla accident that killed 2 people. It was just unbelievable, and it's under investigation, so nobody really knows.
Okay, was the car driving itself?
That's under
Good
investigation.
question. That's a good question.
Right. I mean, would you feel comfortable sitting in an airplane with no pilot and you're going on a trip?
It's going to happen.
It happens already.
It's going to happen.
Well, we're not. Well, I'm not going to be flying.
What do you think?
You don't know what the pilots are doing.
What do you think they're doing in the cockpit? They're not flying. They're playing cards. They're having a party with the
sleeping.
flight attendants. They
Having a party with
You
flight
had to tell me
attendants.
that.
This isn't the
You had to tell me
70s.
that. I got 4 flights coming up in August and September.
Well, Steve, what do you?
But
I said
I
flight
want to
attendant.
be. Sometimes the mind is quicker than the computer. Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're driving the car.
So what do you
Because the
think?
computer is. Yes, go ahead.
What do you think? What do you think, Steve, of the Tesla autopilot chief who just quit because there's an investigation going on the expanded safety rules?
Well, I guess he didn't want to be indicted.
Yeah, we don't care.
You're a real comedian.
But that's the truth, right? If you're under investigation, you get out of town, grab your money. That's why you have a sock drawer.
We're talking
to put your
about
money in.
we're talking about 2 people killed in a fiery crash in an electric vehicle. Meanwhile, there's 200 people that were killed in combustion engine fires that we don't even know about.
Yesterday.
Yeah, that's yesterday's news. Doesn't even make the front page anymore. So, yeah, it's
Like I said, sometimes when I drive, I'm looking ahead 5 or 6 vehicles. Okay, I'm not looking at just the vehicle in front of me. I'm looking ahead.
What if you're behind a big truck? How are you looking ahead?
So is Earl's Tesla, though. Earl's Tesla sees how many vehicles?
That's what the people were doing that got killed in that Tesla. They just slammed right into that parked truck.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what happened to the warning that goes beep, 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 beep when you're getting too close?
Yeah. Well, back to the autopilot chief that quit. When the feds get involved, I get out.
Yeah.
I run for the hills.
You open the sock drawer and you get the money and you cut out of town.
Yeah, there you
You
go.
don't know what a sock drawer is, right?
No.
That's where you hide the money that nobody knows about in case you got to leave in a hurry.
There you go.
It's
Steve,
a New York thing. It's a New York thing.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're quite entertaining and informing.
Okay. Everybody have a safe and good weekend.
You too.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Okay, 877-960-9960. And you can text us at 772-497-6530. I'm going to go over to Rick. I think he's got some YouTubes.
Yeah, we've got several. First one is from Casey. Says, "Hey Stu, Casey here. Am I still number 2 on the BZ4X wait list?"
Let me check.
If so, any idea if the person in first slot is still interested? And when will you get a car? Thanks, Casey.
Let me check.
And the
You're still number
2 for those folks that don't know is the new someday going to get here Toyota full electric car.
Can I just do an informative thing on that subject? We talked this last week or the year before, week before. If you're looking for a car and you want to order a car, be sure to get on the waiting list, even if there isn't a car being built and you don't have a VIN number. Stay on top of it and track that car through the dealership until you get a VIN number, and then you'll have a legal contract with the VIN. But stay on top of it. It's worthwhile just going on an informal waiting list, even without the car VIN, because at least that gives you priority, some priority, if you have an honest dealer that will keep you where you're supposed to be. But that's what we're operating now. A lot of our orders are on waiting lists because the car hasn't been built yet.
Okay.
Okay, Earl, I have a question for you. I meant to ask you earlier because someone else asked me. What would you say the percentage of customers are that come into the dealership to purchase a vehicle compared to the internet right now, today, in this climate?
Well, a lot of them are coming in. The vehicle isn't there, but they come in physically to the dealership. We have very few people that initiate and continue and consummate the entire purchase online. It's a very small percentage.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to go back.
Well, we never answered the question, but if you have a phone call, we'll get back to it. Good.
Okay. We're going to go to Port St. Lucie, where John is holding. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Long-time listener and one of your vigilantes that hasn't been called, but to answer your question, Nancy, I've always done my own work in my own cars, and so I didn't even have hybrid on my radar. And one of the things that frustrated me in looking for a new car is nobody had one on the lot that I could drive. So you're almost asking a customer, not yourself, but all dealerships, to, on good faith, buy something that they don't even have a chance to try out.
That's true.
And I was lucky enough we were snowbirds up until just recently, and up in Saginaw, Michigan, I was looking for a RAV4, and when we went and drove a RAV4 up in Saginaw, Michigan, neither one of us, my wife or I, really liked the car. And it was a surprise because I know it's a very, very popular car, but it was noisy. And so the salesperson up there said, well, let's try a hybrid RAV4. And even at that, there was a lot of road noise. But when we got into Avenza, it was a different story. It was a lot quieter. And so even though I didn't start out looking for a hybrid, I'm on your list to buy a Venza.
Yeah.
And it was all, and it was not a gas mileage thing. It was quietness.
Yeah. No, a lot of these cars that are good just because they're really good cars. We get hung up on labels, and the Prius, for example, the original hybrid, turned out to be probably, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Toyota dealer, but Prius turned out to be one of the most reliable cars ever built in terms of low maintenance costs, insurance costs, repair, ease of use, and everything. So people started to buy it because it's a hybrid and it was cool to be driving a Prius, be seen in a Prius and all that. All the Hollywood movie stars were driving them. And now people come in and we say, listen, if you want about the most reliable car we sell is a Prius. So you're right. It's hybrids have come of age, and someone called in earlier in the show, said, should I buy a hybrid or an EV? I said the average person probably ought to buy a hybrid today.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about what kind of usage, and we're in that transition period because previous to coming down here full time, we went back and forth to Michigan, and we did a lot more driving up there. Now down here, I suspect we are going to be very local and really not much in the way of long distance. I have a daughter in Jupiter, and 3 relatives right here in Port St. Lucie. So I doubt if we're going to be putting any more than 5,000-6,000 miles on a car a year.
Well, you got a great car. You'll get a lot of good use out of it. And as I say, not just because it's a hybrid, because it's a good, reliable car. And a lot of hybrids out there are tested. And check Consumer Reports; they'll tell you the same thing. Even if you check all cars, you'll find hybrids ranked at the top of the list.
Yep. Yeah, I'm very happy with my choice. I'm just unhappy about having to wait like everybody else.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. And the problem is, I don't think it's ever going to totally go away. I think the car dealers are learning now how much money they can make when supply doesn't exceed demand. For years and years, it's almost the advent of the dealer system in the United States. The manufacturers cranked out cars as fast as they could, crammed them down the dealers' throats, insisted they take more cars, pressured them to take more cars. They had too many cars, so they get on they advertise the cars for less than they can sell them for because their competition's lying. They have to be a big liar than the competition, and consequently, car dealers were losing money in their new car departments. If you broke even in your new car department 5 or 10 years ago, you were doing great. All the money was made in used and service and the rest of it. So now, the dealers are getting filthy rich because of the low supply, high demand. I have a feeling that when the manufacturer comes back, the microchips and all that, everything's fine. You're going to find the manufacturers and the dealers in a silent agreement, secret silent agreement, that you're only going to have a few cars and we're only going to supply a few at a time, and you keep those prices up and we'll keep our prices up and the consumers will pay through the nose. I have a horrible feeling that might happen.
Well, what's interesting is I've been around long enough to know what car selling was like in the 50s and 60s, at least in small town America.
Yeah.
And it was. You had actual demonstrators that the salesmen had to take home and give to their customers.
Sure.
And if they liked it, then they came in and they ordered the color and interior that they wanted. And, 6 weeks later, you got your car. That was the model back then.
That's right. Okay.
So we're back to the past. Thank you so much.
Past is prologue.
Isn't that the truth? Boy, I'll tell you, this microchip shortage has really wreaked havoc, and it's just amazing. Here we are. Anyway, back to Stu.
Let's see. Oh, that's right. We had a question. It was a YouTube question.
Yeah, that was from Casey asking about the BZ4X.
Okay. I don't know. I'm. If you're on the list, nobody changes positions on the list unless the customer asks to come off the list. So you're still in the same position you always were. I think the first BZ4X is going to be allocated for some reason in my mind. I thought I saw it, so I actually checked our system here, and I didn't see it, unless I just did something wrong. So there's going to be one this year. Every dealer's going to get one, and that will go to the first person on the list, and then we'll. Probably in 2023, we'll get another one. So that should be yours.
And if you buy it from the average dealer, you're going to pay thousands and thousands over a sticker.
Right. And the good news is hopefully Earl's nightmare scenario doesn't come to fruition and prices do come down. There's a chance that your 2024 BZ4X might be below MSRP.
Well, I believe prices are going to come. I know prices are going to come down. They just won't come down. Stu knows this because he's in the business. The average profit that a dealer made on a new car before the COVID issue was maybe $1,000 or $1,500. So now the average profit they're making is something like, what's Stu, $8,000? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it's just huge compared. I think it's going to come back up when we get to the normal comes back. Instead of an average profit of $1,500, they'll probably be making right around sticker price, which Apple does the same thing, right? You don't complain about paying sticker for a Mac or an Apple Watch or an iPhone.
No, I finally got used to paying over $1,000 for a cell phone years ago. I don't complain anymore.
Yeah, well, that's a different story, but for something you can buy directly from Apple.
Yeah. And one other one here is, Richard is asking, have you noticed a big increase in repossession rates?
Oh, huge. Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's going to be bloody. before it gets
Repossession,
better.
evictions, the list is long, unfortunately.
Hey, Stu, how big is the about how many people are on the list for the BZ4X? Donovan's asking that one.
Not too many. I honestly think there's only a handful, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's an image car. It gets people to talk about like we're talking about now. You come out with, it's like the Supra we had. Every car has an image car. Corvette, the Chevrolet Stingray, Corvette. I mean, people talk about it. They don't buy it. They dream about it. They go into the dealership to see what it looks like. They can't afford it because the dealer's marketing it up $20,000, and they buy something else. So that's what our electric car is. It's an image car, create interest, create talk, and nobody's going to be driving them. You'll probably never see one.
Unless you go to California, and then you might see a couple.
True.
And it'll be being driven by a celebrity. Be Larry David.
Yeah. Okay, where are we?
I'm all caught up with anonymous feedback and text.
I've got I'll open the automotive news here. There's the NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Chief, has announced that they're going to try to make the emergency braking feature required on all cars. And I hate the government to require anything, but in this case here, I think it's good. A lot of our cars have that emergency braking feature, and it'll save your life. The only problem with these features, blindside recording, the lane adherence, a lot of these things, you become so dependent on them that you rely on them. And then if one of them fails, that's my nightmare, is if you start to rely on your backup camera, you start to rely on your there's a car coming behind you at Publix, and you don't look, then you're dead meat. So, but I like this emergency braking feature. It is really cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's happened. It's worked for me before.
Yeah.
To answer those questions, there's 3 people on the BZ4 list right now. Three people. So.
And the lucky person will get it.
And number 3 will get there sometime in the mid-decade.
And yeah, right.
It's interesting what you said, about safety features. And with me driving the Avalon and driving the Tesla, it really is a change. And I'm referring to looking in the rear view mirror, checking out my side view mirrors, checking out my dash, and then things that are different on the Tesla. And it's just, a little different.
I have one more important thing before we get to the mystery shopping report. And Nancy and I were talking about this in the car coming to the studio. We've talked before about car dealers that are cheating the manufacturers by saying they sold cars they didn't really sell and saying they delivered cars they didn't really deliver. And all the dealers do this virtually, and all the manufacturers are victims because you get shipped a car as soon as the manufacturer thinks you sold it. So you trick the manufacturer into thinking you sold the car by reporting it sold, and they ship you another car. Well, when you have high demand, low supply, and you're making $8,000 a car, by cheating the manufacturer out of a car that should have gone somewhere else, you're stealing $8,000. So they're doing it. But the thing I didn't think about, and this was the editorial in this week's Automotive News, is the customer's getting cheated too. Because if you report a car sold and the car doesn't actually get really sold and delivered for 30 days, when you buy that car, you got 30 days less factory warranty. If you have a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, you really only have a 35-month warranty because the car really got reported sold. And when you take it in for that warranty work, the manufacturer is going to say in a week under 3 years, they're going to say, I'm sorry, your car's out of warranty. So this is something that finally, because the public started squawking about it, General Motors has cracked down on their dealers. Toyota theoretically cracked down on their dealers. And the question is, they're still doing it. I mean, I guarantee you it's still happening. So advice to you, if you're taking delivery of a new car today, be sure you find out the date that car was reported sold. And then if you put your foot down then, you can get an adjustment in the warranty. And you need to check to see, because some of these cars might have been reported sold 2 months ago. You lose 2 months of new car warranty.
Interesting fact. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a mystery shopping report to get to. I know everyone's been waiting for it, and it's from CarMax in Royal Palm Beach. You can be part of the voting process at 772-497-6530. And you can also check out Good Dealer, Bad Dealers list. Or is that plural, dealers?
Dealer list, yeah.
Good Dealer, Bad Dealer list. And don't forget to vote at 772-497-6530. Now we're going to get to the mystery shopping report.
Okay, as you said, CarMax, Royal Palm Beach. I've never been there. I've been to the one in Boynton, and CarMax, the largest seller of used cars in the world. We've been reporting on these crazy inflationary prices. We focus exclusively on new vehicles. First of all, it's more fun to go after those flashy new car dealers, but the roots of the inventory crunch are found in new car production that's been cut away, backed by supply chain chaos, most famously microchip. And of course, one of the big things with used cars is the fact that off-lease cars are not as many of them available anymore because the lessees are wising up to the fact that even if they don't want to extend the lease of that car, they should exercise their option to purchase it and sell it to somebody else. So the dealers don't have these off-lease cars feeding their inventories, and prices are going up and up. Although we talked earlier in the show, they come off a little bit of a shift in the downward of used car prices. On this show far, we focus on trade values. The one aspect of this craziness is it actually benefits consumers. The flip side is the high prices used car payers are forced to pay. So at least you had a little bit of relief when you traded your car in. We advise people, be sure you maximize the price, shop it, go to several sources, and you can get a good price on a used car. Several months ago, we told the story of a man who ordered a new RAV4 from my Toyota dealership. He waited a few months and paid MSRP for it when it finally came in. We draw the line at MSRP. Sounds like a lot of money to me, but it sure isn't today. It's thousands of dollars cheaper than everybody else. He bought that from us, RAV4 from MSRP. Then he drove to Boynton Beach and sold it to CarMax for about $4,000 more than he paid me for it. Now, that's hard to believe, right? But the part we never talked about was the customer who would eventually buy that RAV4. Now, that's CarMax bought it. They paid $4,000 over MSRP. How much did they charge the next person that came into CarMax to buy the car? So their cost basis was MSRP. You know they marked it up several thousand. So that's what's crazy. I've said in this show before, if you're going to buy a used car, I almost sound silly saying this, but if you're going to buy a used car, find out what that car costs new today. I mean, there actually is happening today. You're seeing used cars being sold for greater than the new car because the whole market is topsy-turvy. It's crazy out there. CarMax's cost basis was, okay. The same thing is happening all over the country. It's a shame because buying a used car these days is the only viable option many people have. With new cars taking 6 months to a year to order, there's little choice. And that's true. I mean, almost literally, we don't have any cars on our inventory. We're a large volume dealership. We sell about 300 cars a month, and we have no cars. I mean, no new cars in inventory. Everybody that buys a car from us virtually orders a car. If you go to a used car lot, we have a used car lot, we've got about 100 cars you can choose from. Cars are way priced high, but at least there's 100 cars. And you don't have any new cars to choose from, so that's the reason it's such a dilemma. We have new or used car. We shop CarMax. They are the world's largest retailers, I said before, and because they bought our customer's RAV4, that we sold them at MSRP new, and paid several $1,000s more for it. That's crazy. We sent Agent Lightning into CarMax in Royal Palm Beach, and this is the first time for us. We've only investigated Boynton Beach and Jensen Beach before, the other two CarMaxes in this area. Speaking in the first person as if I were Agent Lightning, I arrived at CarMax at 12:30. I entered the building, found my way to the front desk. where I was greeted by Scott. I knew this from his name tag, but he didn't properly introduce himself, but he did have a name tag. I love name tags. He asked how I was and if I had an idea of what I was looking for. I showed Scott their listing for a 2021 Toyota RAV4 XLE Premium on my phone and asked if it was available. He said if it was on their website, it was available. Now that sounds almost like a smart aleck remark, but it's a very important remark. A lot of car dealers are advertising cars on their website that they don't have.
Ghost cars.
Sometimes new cars. Sometimes it's an accident because the manufacturer interferes, in our case, Toyota. And we have to explain that these cars that are incoming, but they're not here yet. And so you always want to be sure that the car you come into a dealership for, be it new or used, if they say it's there, just verify it, because sometimes it's not. And in fact, a lot of times it's not. Scott pointed me in the direction of the RAV4 on the lot, said it should be unlocked. I headed over to it and took my pictures. I'm Mr. Shopper, Agent Lightning, in case you forgot. The price on the window sticker was $1,000 less than the online listing, $35,998. That's strange.
I didn't include this later on. It was explained that it had a regular price drop, and so when she saw it the day before, she had screenshot it, and then they lowered the price like dealers do.
I was complimenting CarMax when I said that was strange, because they're straight up. They're honest. They're not perfect. At least in past times when we shopped them, I'm not through this report. I might change my mind, but they're a straight up outfit. If I were going to buy a used car or send a friend to buy a used car, you could do a lot worse than CarMax. I headed back inside and found Scott. I said I would like to see the out-the-door price on the RAV4, but Scott now seemed very stressed and preoccupied. Aren't we all today? He apologized, said he was trying to finish up a couple of things. He asked me to wait for him by the front desk. As I waited for Scott, another employee approached and asked if I had been helped. I said I was waiting for Scott. He asked if Scott had taken my name and number and entered it in the computer. I said he hadn't, so he sat down, gathered the info, put me into the system, and was finishing up when Scott found us. They had some conversation about appraisals. Next thing I know, Scott was no longer my salesman, and the new guy was. By the way, CarMax does like we do. They don't pay commissions to the salespeople based on profits, or they pay the salespeople based on the number of cars they sell. So they don't care how much the car costs. The number of cars is how they're commissioned. So CarMax salesmen are a cut above the average salespeople. By the way, no one has introduced himself to me. That's just being sloppy. That's not being evil or conniving. Name tag is a good thing, but people sometimes don't wear name tags. Some people don't introduce themselves. That's just not good salesmanship. So I asked the new guy for his name. It was Blake. Blake asked me if I knew the stock number for the RAV4 I was looking at. I showed him a listing on my phone. Blake pulled up the vehicle on his computer and began to go over CarMax benefits, which included 90-day, 4,000-mile warranty and a 30-day limited return warranty. All warranties virtually are limited returns, so you have some crazy people that have unconditional.
There's a mileage. I think there's a mileage thing, and then
yeah,
and it's a return. I don't know if it's a money back.
It is a money back. It is money back. Then he pushed an extended warranty on me, but did tell me that was a very good question Stu asked, because you really have to watch warranties. And when they say we have a 30-day return guarantee, as Stu said, I could say, okay, well, you don't like that car, take that one. You say, well, I don't want that one. Well, I'm sorry, but that's the only one we got.
All right, that one.
Yeah. But you had a return. Well, you returned it, right?
You got to pay one.
And then now you got to buy that one. So be careful. You got to read the fine print and find out exactly what these warranties are and guarantees are. Then he pushed an extended warranty on me, but did tell me it was optional, and he obviously said I could understand it, because I declined. That's something you usually don't see. You find that warranty when you get home and look at your paperwork. You didn't even know you bought it. I asked if the price of $35,998 was negotiable. I told him I'd been shopping for a new one, but couldn't wait to order one. I showed him that MSRP for the new model. It was almost $6,000 less than a used one. And
That's quite a bit.
So that's
what we were just talking about.
That's a lot. So it's craziness, folks. Again, CarMax, they're honest, and they buy inventory for what they have to pay, and they had to pay probably $3,000 over MSRP to buy that car, and they marked that up another $3,000 to sell it to me, and that was $6,000. But that's what they have to do to stay in business, and I don't hold them as responsible as I do new car dealers who sell way over MSRP, because new car dealers have a source, they have a manufacturer, they're franchised. They can get new cars at dealer cost. CarMax can't. They have to buy their new cars, and they have to pay the dealer too much money. So there we are. History repeats itself. Don't buy a used car until you check the new car price. And then you might still want to buy it because the new car price is probably more outrageous than the used car price, but that's your decision. Blake was very nice, but his explanation was basically, it is what it is. And that's tragically the truth today. He said prices were high because of the inventory shortages, and nothing can be done about it. I asked him for a detailed breakdown of the price. Blake did some stuff on his computer, then printed a complete buyer's order for me. You were the caller earlier, if you were listening to the show, and Al Henderson Toyota, he also had a printout, but he was not allowed to take it with him.
Right.
You can take it, you can't take a picture of it, and you can't memorize it.
You can look at it.
You look at it.
Only for 4 seconds.
That's all you can look at.
You have 4 seconds to gaze at it.
Okay. The sale price was posted $35,998. They had added a $399. That's their dealer fee. We were asked earlier in the show, what are the dealer fees in our area? This is the lowest I know of, $399, and there are dealers doing $2,000, $3,000. It's crazy. They call theirs a processing fee. All dealers call their fees something else. Dealer fee has become a generic term like aspirin. So aspirin means it can be Bayer, what are they? Bayer, Walgreens,
Excedrin.
CVS. Yeah, I mean, it's a generic term. So
or Kleenex for tissue.
Kleenex, exactly, a tissue, yeah. So dealer fee is tissue or aspirin. It's got 1,000 names. And they also have a $27 optional electronic filing fee. That's cute. I don't know what that means, but
that requires the person looking at the buyer's order to go, oh, this is optional. Oh, can you redo this without the $27?
Yeah.
How many people do that?
I don't know, either that or I don't know. We'll have to check that out before adding sales tax and a legitimate government fee. So Blake sympathized with extreme pricing, encouraged me to reconsider ordering a new car. I thanked him for my time and help. And I'll repeat this. CarMax, again, to say something positive on the wholesale end of the CarMax, I shopped a car for a friend of mine, and I shopped several sources, and I missed CarMax. CarMax paid my friend more money for the car than I would, so I got accolades for CarMax. They can pay a lot of money for your car, but they also pay you too little for your car. CarMax has a very sophisticated inventory system, computerized, and they have an algorithm that tells them very accurately how badly they should need to buy that car. And if they need to buy that car badly, they'll pay a whole lot of money for it. If they don't need the car, they'll pay a whole little money for it, but always get a price from CarMax. My friend did, and got $1,000 more than I was going to pay him. So as embarrassing as that is an accolade for CarMax. And now it's voting time.
Okay. The first one that's come in is from Jonathan in Wellington. It says CarMax in Royal Palm Beach sounds like mass confusion. Sale prices are too high. Dealer fee is unacceptable. Shop here at your own peril. But grade C, typical for these days, but not worth being taken advantage of. And Mark just came in with a C as well. I'm going to go better than a C. I'm going to give him a B because the experience it's one of trust. You go into CarMax, and at least if you trust us, we're telling you to trust CarMax, and you go in there and you don't. It's not the Wild West. And yeah, the prices are high, but that's not CarMax's fault. And also, Bob is just texted with, he's on my wavelength. B for CarMax.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Kirk in West by God, Virginia. CarMax sales models is their sales model. Honesty of the model was superior. $3.99 processing fee equals junk. In this era, I would say a solid A minus. And I've got Mark Anderson, Mark from St. Louis, B. No games, no crazy fees, no pressure. Tom with a solid B plus. Kyle, CarMax is very overpriced but refreshingly honest and transparent. B for the $3.99 dealer fee. Tim looks like a B to me. Brian, straightforward dealership, B. Eric Mings, that's a B. Didn't try to bait and switch, up front and honest, and I can respect that. Mark Smith with a B. Negan 1, C minus for CarMax.
Ooh,
Negan. Negan's going tough on him.
Yeah, man.
But still a passing score.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm going to say a B.
B.
And Martha on Facebook gives them a B.
Huh. Nancy?
Interesting. I too am going to give them a B. Blake was very nice. He said it is what it is, and CarMax. I would go to CarMax. It's a great place to go to, and you feel you feel good about the place because of the reputation. So I give them a B.
Yeah, I'm going to give them an A. I mean, they're the best the best anywhere, and we grade on the curve. So they're not perfect. I don't mean they're perfect. I just mean that I don't know another used car place you could get any better treatment. And they've always they kind of wrote the book. We copied them in some other things. We, one price. I mean, they were one price before we were on used cars, and their dealer fee is very low. So I think they're a great outfit, and they actually lost money in the first quarter of 2022, but their prices are. No, they didn't lose money. I'm sorry. They made money, but their sales were down. So they're selling fewer cars, and that is commensurate with having to pay too much. Yeah, we're all selling fewer cars.
And making more money.
So I can't recommend anybody, if you're buying a used car, more than CarMax. But I do recommend this. Don't buy a used car or a new car today if you can avoid it. I'm predicting for the third time, I've been wrong each time, I'm predicting prices will be coming down at the end of the year.
Right. Well, we'll let you know when we see it.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
So just stay tuned, but don't buy a car now.
Don't buy a car
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't say it enough. Wait to purchase a vehicle, whether it's new, whether it's used. Hang on to that car that you have and play it safe for now. This microchip shortage and inventory shortage, we're not in a good place. Thank you all for tuning in to Earl Stewart on Cars. We definitely appreciate you spending your morning with us. We'll be right back here next week, same time, 8 a.m. Have a great weekend.